Groceries are getting expensive. Rent is going up. Gas prices are all over the place. Look, if you're feeling like something's just off with the economy, you're definitely not alone. The big question on everyone's mind is the US heading for a recession? Let's break it down.
You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's that feeling that you're working hard, you're paying your bills, you're doing everything you're supposed to do. But somehow, the math just isn't adding up like it used to. All right, so let's really dig into this. We're going to cut through the noise, separate the scary headlines from what's actually happening on the ground, and most importantly, figure out what all of this means for you. So, why does everything feel so strange? The US economy right now is, well, it's just plain confusing. Because on one hand, you hear some good news, but on the other, your bank account is telling you a completely different story. And this slide really lays out that confusion perfectly. On one side, you have the reality for millions of us. Gas is up, groceries are expensive, rent is high. On the other side, you've got this official data saying, hey, the economy's great, low unemployment, strong growth. So what's the deal? Are things good or are they bad?
Turns out, there's actually a word for this feeling. It's called a vibecession, a term coined by author Kyla Scanlon. It's basically when the economic vibe is just bad, even if the numbers on paper look okay. And this isn't just about feelings. How people feel about the economy has a real impact on how they spend money. It can actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, so before we go any further, we need to get on the same page. What exactly is a recession, anyway?
So the official definition, the one the experts use, comes from the National Bureau of Economic Research. They say it's a significant decline in economic activity spread across the market, lasting more than a few months. In simple terms, it's when the whole economy slows down for a good chunk of time. Businesses make less money, people might start losing their jobs, and pretty much everyone cuts back on spending.
Now, recessions don't just appear out of nowhere. They kind of sneak up on you. This table shows how that happens. You go from a normal, healthy economy through a period of early warning signs until you finally cross that recession threshold. So the big question for us today is, where are we on this path right now?
Let's play detective for a minute and read the tea leaves, because right now, there are some pretty clear warning signs that the US economy is feeling the pressure.
All right, warning sign number one. And honestly, this one needs no introduction because we are all living it every single day. Things are still really expensive.
Now, I know we've heard that inflation has cooled down a bit from its peak, and that's true, but prices are still incredibly high, and that means your dollar just doesn't stretch as far as it used to. When that happens, people naturally start to cut back on spending, and that's the first step toward an economic slowdown. And look at this chart. It shows a recent jump, a little reminder that this problem is far from over.
And here's the breakdown of where it really hurts. Look at these numbers. Gasoline up almost 19%. Energy costs, shelter, even food. These aren't luxuries you can just cut out. This is the basic cost of living, and it's putting a massive squeeze on family budgets.
Okay, on to warning sign number two, high interest rates. So here's the deal. To fight that inflation we were just talking about, the government raised interest rates. A lot. But that solution created a whole new problem. Suddenly, borrowing money got really expensive. Think about getting a mortgage, a car loan, or even just the interest on your credit card. It's all way higher now. And when it costs more to borrow, people and businesses, well, they borrow less, and that puts the brakes on economic growth.
Which leads us directly to our third warning sign. With everything costing more, how are people supposed to make ends meet? Well, for a lot of folks, the answer has been...
And that's the core of warning sign number three, rising household debt. To cover those daily expenses, groceries, gas, more and more Americans are relying on credit. And that's pushing our collective debt levels to brand new highs.
How high, you ask? A staggering $1.28 trillion. That's the total credit card debt in the US right now. And that is a dangerous number. Because if people start to struggle with paying that back, it sends shockwaves of financial stress through the entire system.
And finally, let's talk about the fourth big warning sign, a cooling job market. Now, on the surface, the unemployment rate is still pretty low, which is great, but things are definitely changing. We've all seen the headlines about layoffs at big companies, especially in the tech world. And even the companies that aren't letting people go are hitting pause on hiring. All of this creates a sense of uncertainty, right? And when you feel like your job might not be secure, what's the first thing you do? You stop spending on anything that isn't essential. And there it is again, another brake on the economy. Okay, so we've got inflation, high interest rates, rising debt, and a shaky job market.
With all these warning signs flashing, does that mean a recession is a done deal? Is it guaranteed? Well, let's see what the experts think.
And the honest answer is nobody knows for sure. The experts themselves are pretty divided. You've got firms like Moody's Analytics putting the odds at nearly 50-50, which is pretty high. Others are a bit more optimistic. The big takeaway here is that while the economy is definitely under some serious strain, it's not completely broken. A recession is not guaranteed, but the risk is very, very real.
And this is a really important piece of context. While things feel uncertain, most experts agree that this is not a repeat of the 2008 financial crisis. The bones of the financial system, the underlying risks, they're just very different this time around.
So what does this all mean for you and me? Living in this uncertainty can be stressful. So what can we actually do to prepare? Let's walk through a few practical steps.
Okay, 4 simple things to focus on. First, get a handle on any unnecessary spending. Take a hard look at your budget and see where you can trim a little. Second, try to avoid taking on new, high-interest loans right now. Maybe postpone that big purchase if it means going into more debt. Third, and this is a big one, focus on your savings. Build up that emergency fund or add to it if you can. And finally, number 4, stay informed. The more you understand what's going on, the better the decisions you can make.
You know, at the end of the day, whether the experts officially call it a recession or not almost doesn't matter. The financial pressure people are feeling right now is real. The coming months are going to be absolutely crucial for the US economy. And that leaves us all with a pretty big question to think about. Are we prepared for what comes next?